welcome to another day at Soul Expression Sessions. I am very excited to have with me today another fellow Canadian all the way from Vancouver, Lexis Johnson, or so far from Vancouver. And Lexis is an international best-selling author and ghostwriter for over two decades. Dr. Lexis Johnson is the foremost expert on authority positioning for the online coaching industry. She empowers seasoned professionals to break free from inconsistent leads and roller coaster incomes. As a creator of the transformative authority positioning formula, Dr. Lexis helps coaches establish themselves as the go-to experts in their niche through powerful, done-for-you media strategies that amplify authority, expand visibility, and boost credibility in as little as 30 days. Her proven methods have helped countless coaches secure a steady stream of eager clients who know they're the answer before the first Zoom call happens. When she's not revolutionizing businesses, you'll find her walking her French Bulldog by the ocean or crafting blueprints for books, courses, and events that elevate brands to stardom. Ready to transform your business? Dr. Lexis is here to help you shift from best kept secret to rockstar expert. Welcome, Lexis.
Thank you. That was a big mouthful.
It was. So what made you jump into doing done-for-you books and positioning people as experts?
25 years ago, I moved to the US to marry my best friend, and I took 3 teenagers with me, thinking that going from Canada to the US, the school system would be the same, and I'd have 9 to 5 to 9 to 3, go to have a job, right, to work. And I didn't want to work for someone else, so I started my own spa. And quickly realized that I was getting phone calls at noon. Mom, can you take me to pick up hockey? Or Mom, my girlfriends and I want to go to Starbucks, can you take us? And I wasn't getting much work done in my spa. So I hired a coach who happened to like writing books. He had made his claim to fame that way. And he taught me how to do it. As it happens, I got one client from my spa that I was teaching nutrition. I was coaching nutrition at the time. I was helping her lose weight and adapt her diet for health and her daughters. She had a teenage daughter, and she ran a telesummit. She said, "Oh, Lexis, you've got to be on my telesummit." But her telesummit had an audience that were all metaphysical, and they wanted to talk to their angels and their spirit guides and have readings done. And she said, "You're going to have to adapt it somehow because my people all need you. And you did such a great job for me that, I'd be a good testimonial for you." So I went on and I created 3 little MP3s. Today they'd be MP3s, little recordings. Angel of the color ray of weight loss, angel of the color ray of stress relief, and the angel to turn your excess asses into extra assets. And they laughed and they loved it. And they bought these little recordings for $47 each. And I made $18,000 in 1 hour and turned the ones who got on a phone call with me, 80% of them bought my $3,000 group call. It wasn't actually a phone call. It was Skype. I don't use Skype anymore, but back in those days, we didn't have Zoom. So I was on Skype, and a very good friend of mine, David Ricklin from selfgrowth.com, now the JV directory, asked me how my summits went. And when I told him, he said, "Oh my goodness, 80%, that's amazing. You should bottle what you did and sell that." So I started teaching people how to write a book that became a bestseller, how to get on speaking opportunities because of that, and how to put their courses together with their lead magnets and all these little goodies so that they can get speaking opportunities and make money. And over the past couple of decades, I've been a ghostwriter, and I put all this together and changing and adapting, because today we have podcasts we never had before. So I've adapted it, and I'm still doing the same thing. And I've noticed that people in the industry are all struggling with these same problems, that they don't know what the things are that they need to do to position themselves so that their audience gets to know, like, and trust them. And then they can come to the Zoom call ready to buy. Like, they already know what you got. So that's why I do what I do, and I absolutely love it.
That's awesome. So when you do that for somebody, like, what is the process that they go through to learn to do something?
Well, I have a consultation with them. So generally, they have an application form to work with me. They fill it out, and I know a lot about them, but based on what the answers are to their questions. Then they book the call, and we sit down and we go over where they are today, what are all their talents and things that they've used to create what they've got so far, and where would they like to go. And generally people come to me when they've hit a glass ceiling. I take them back a few steps, because what they know today is way more than what they knew when they started. And what's the first thing you do when you get started? You figure out who your ideal client is and what's their problem that you are perfectly designed to sell them, to help them resolve. We take them back to the beginning and we work on those things, and we figure out the language their audience speaks, and then they go right past the glass ceiling. They don't hit it anymore. And that gets them to their first really big level. So that's the basic process of it.
Nice, because then they could use that book, I guess, to get on stages, on podcasts, sort of be the authority in their niche.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be a book, but we create the blueprint. So just from that consultation, they get the blueprint figured out of where they're at and where they want to go. And then if bright, shiny object hits them, as it does so many coaches, they can spiral off and learn one of these amazing new things and come right back to their timeline, to what they're going to do to get to where they want to go. So many people spiral off, and then they spiral off again, and then they spiral off again, and they're nowhere near where they want to get to, and they don't understand why they're not making any money or why they're not getting any headway. So this way they've got the blueprint of where they need to go. And I, just put it into my little formula, and it works for me, and it's continued to work for 25 years. So
Well, that's awesome. So you also have, we mentioned earlier that you have a couple of groups that you're doing now for people.
yeah, because I love what I do so much, and I love course creation. I love to create little ebooks, and I use those as lead generation booklets. I teach people how to create those little books. And if you know where to put things in your book, like your lead magnets, and how to get people to understand who you are, different types of trainings, like if you're a life coach or a spiritual coach or a health practitioner or whatever you are, even a plumber, if people look at different pages depending on what the subject matter is, if you know what those are, and that's what I've been doing for 25 years, is figuring it out, then you put the things that they need to know on those particular pages, and that gets them to know who you are and whether or not they can work with you or not, if you're the right match. Then you get them to book a call with you and do what I did. Book a call and get them into one of your other programs, whatever programs that you're trying to get them into. So that's how I got started with the lead generation books. The two groups that I have on LinkedIn are, one is for how to write a book for new authors, and it's basically for the coaching industry, but anybody who needs to write a nonfiction book will get a lot out of it, because it really goes deep into who your ideal avatar is, your client, what your offer should be, how to create all of that and get it written down. And whether you're trying to write your copy or your talk or a book, you need to have these basic skills. So that's in that little group on LinkedIn. And then I have the other one on authority positioning, which teaches you what it is you actually need to have in the world so that you can fly off and do all these bright, shining object things. But do you need them? Because there are certain things you absolutely need to position yourself. And the more that you have in the shortest space of time, capture that momentum of the visibility that you're going to get from all these positioning. And that's going to get you consistent leads. And then you just build on that momentum.
Well, that's awesome. And you also have a newsletter, correct?
Yeah, they both have a newsletter. So you get a lot of information that's no charge.
Excellent. And we'll make sure all that information's in the show notes for everybody.
That'll be great. I'm doing this because I spent so many years buying other people's programs, and everybody's program was great, but it only told me so much. And it seemed like the secret sauce was only delivered if you paid the highest ticket prices. And when people are starting out, they're the ones who need this information, but they're the ones that usually don't have the money to pay for it. So I figured I started off with the book saying, well, nobody's teaching how to write a book and how to actually get it all done. They're teaching all these different things, and people are writing books and they're becoming bestsellers, but they're not making any money with it. Some of them aren't even selling any books. So I thought, well, I'm going to show them how to do it. So I do.
Well, I think a book, I've done 7 different books, and you're right. It's something that people need to learn to do. And I love the done for you part too, because some people just aren't writers, or they have so much knowledge and info in their heads. You can give it to somebody. So someone like you that is able to do that, I think, is exceptional for a lot of people.
Well, I like to do it. I love talking to people and finding out what their thing is. And my thing is this course creation. I like to see the big picture. And I have so many ideas in my head that I could never do them all myself. So when I help somebody else do theirs, I can do the part that I like and give it back to them. And then I can go on to something else and do it again. And I absolutely love helping people. I love finding out all these different things about them. So yeah, win-win for everybody.
Nice. We certainly have been very helpful to me on many levels.
Oh, that's good to know.
And do you still do your angels for people? That's something you still do?
I do. I have four dozen different metaphysical masteries that I help people with, and one of them is astrology. And I do all kinds of things. I do angel readings, I do tarot readings, I do like all kinds of card readings. I never don't have cards nearby. I've always got my cards nearby so I can do these things, but they basically are all different perspectives of the same universal. There's like a People call it the Akashic Records. I call it Source. Some people call it God. Some people, tune into an angel or some other spirit guide. I don't really have a name for it. I just call it Source. And it is very, like, much smarter than I am. And I just tune in. So even if I'm doing an astrology reading and I'm looking at all the planets and signs, something just comes over me and I start telling you those things. Something just says, tell her this. She needs to know this. No, she doesn't quite have it. Tell her in this way. And then I do. And usually people tell me that it was bang on, that they needed exactly that information.
Well, we certainly can use direction these days, can't we?
Well, that's for sure. Especially if it's direction that's coming from such a high source. It's not just me and my expertise. Like, I'm a mom of 7 kids, so I have a lot of knowledge, right? And I've been like, no matter what's going on in your life, I probably had something that happened like that to me in my life, or one of my kids, or somebody in my situation, right? So I have a lot of knowledge on my own, but this is beyond that. This is like from something beyond me. And I use that for business too. When I'm doing somebody's business consultation, it just starts flowing. It just starts coming in. And I don't know if it's angels or whoever it is, but they're always of the highest light and they always have great information. And I have great testimonials because of it. People love it.
And how would that benefit someone in business who have never had something like that before?
Oh my goodness. If you understand what your purpose is, people who come to me well, almost everybody in the world who goes to a predictor of any type, whether it's numerology, astrology, or whatever type, they always ask the same basic questions. And one is about money. Like, show me the money. Where's the money? Can you see money in my life? Can you see it in my aura? Can you see it in my chart? Or when am I going to find romance? Where's my partner? Where's my true love? Or something related to that. And the other one is generally about health. Where's whatever's going on with your health. Because I have a strong medical background as my nutrition background and holistic health practitioner, I'm able to tell you about your health. Many predictors aren't allowed to say that because it's like diagnosing and treating, and you're not allowed to. But when I'm certified, I am. So it gives me an extra level there. So yeah, I do that too. Everybody always asks these same questions. It's really easy to fine tune it. I just have, these various different little areas that I go into and it just comes to me.
That is awesome. I know I remember asking you some very specific questions, like you said, about money and love. And yes, some are coming to fruition, which is kind of nice. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Let's
Thank
hear
you.
it.
Absolutely, because I think it's very strong to, listen to source and let God in for me and to say, okay, what else is coming? What's out there? And I know a lot of people are looking for something that is greater than themselves. And if they just looked to God, I think they would get a lot more answers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Predictions for, this year and next year. We're moving into the age of Aquarius. We're already basically there. And there's so many planets that are changing, so many planets that are lined up in the sky just for all of this change. Well, people want change, but they don't like to go through change. They just want it to be easy for them. And change isn't easy. It's like the butterfly becoming from a cocoon, merging out of that and becoming the butterfly from the caterpillar, or how a snake sheds its skin. It's not easy. Giving birth isn't easy. So people, they want life to be easy and they want change to happen. They don't like what's going on in the world, but they're going to have to go through this little period, this transitionary period where it's not always going to be great. Well, the earth is going through that too. And so during the times of Noah, we had the great flood. Well, right now we're going through periods of other types of devastation that have explosion. Fires, for example, we have a lot of that, and it's going to continue. But fires burn things down so that the earth can regrow, like the phoenix, coming back from the ashes. And that's what's happening too. And a lot of the top-down businesses, like corporations, not really businesses, but corporations, are going to be changing, like evolving and resolving and completely being destroyed and being reborn as something much better. And the power of the people is definitely going to be heard over the next few years. And because it's the age of Aquarius, Aquarius is all about the people. It's all about humanity. And humanity is demanding to have their voice heard. So no more hiring, or not hiring, but voting in politicians who say, I'm going to do this for you, and then they don't do it. Now the people are going to demand that you made these promises. Now you have to do it. And when people start to realize that there's only a handful of politicians, but the masses of people who voted them in are so much bigger and stronger, right now, over the next couple of years, they're going to start realizing how much power they actually have. Because Aquarius and Pluto is the bringer, like the harbinger, bringing the age of Aquarius in. And Pluto is all about power, power struggles, destroying the old systems and renewing new systems. So astrology works very well with what it says in religious texts about, the end of days. It's not really the end of days. The end of days is like eons long. And we're going through that. There's smatterings of everything all blending all together.
That's true. And I mean, when we first talked about this, I thought of all the women going through menopause because they're like, oh, I want this over. I want this done. And it's like, you're building resilience, you're building, understanding your body more. You have to understand it more, how to communicate it, how to decide if you're having the glass of red wine, are you going to go stand out in the porch in a snowstorm to get cool? You can, or you just have to, right? Take your pick. So, there is a lot of change, you're right. And people don't tend to like change. They just want the change, but it's something that builds us stronger than we're ever have been. So I think it is definitely necessary, and people are resilient.
Because when my kids were still at home, when I lived in California where it's hot, I spent a lot of time at the ice arena because my boys played hockey. And I can remember when I was going through menopause, which I didn't have a lot of trouble with, but when it first hit me, it was a big surprise. And my husband, bless his heart, bought me this winter cashmere coat so that I could wear it at the hockey arena. Well, I would bundle all up with all the beautiful things that he bought me, and I'd be taking the hat off, taking the scarf off, taking the coat off, and trying to cool off in the arena. And I can remember those days. And then I, got my hormones under control. But it was a challenge, and it's not pleasant. I don't think men will ever understand what we go through. It's a little easier for some of us, but not so much for others. But it is a bringer of a whole different kind of life for us, right? We have so much more freedom afterwards.
We do. I mean, I love it. I don't get hot as much. Now I'm a little colder and it's freezing out, but I can bundle up. Good.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. We can move around, do what we want when we want, and it's much nicer for sure. So is there anything else you want to tell my listeners today?
Because times are changing, and because the economy is the way it is, and there's so much fear in the world, you really need to, like, everybody's being much more concerned about knowing all the facts before they jump into anything. And I just want to tell you guys out there in, internet land, that there are some really good ones out here that you can trust. Find out, get to know everybody, see the ones who are visible everywhere, and look for people that have good referrals and good testimonials, and get to know everybody. Then find the one that you resonate with. And even if they're not teaching exactly the thing that you need to hear, you're going to learn something amazing from them. And from them, it'll springboard into the next thing that you need to do. But from my point of view, the fastest, easiest way to make a difference in the world as a coach or any small business online is to hire yourself a mentor or coach yourself. Find out where you're at, position yourself properly, and burst out onto the platforms, because the world needs you. We're all so scared out there of what's happening. And whatever your expertise and talents are, the world needs you.
I agree. And the world doesn't get what you need if you please me. So thank you so much for joining us today, Lexis. It was a pleasure.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Again, have all of her info and her links to her LinkedIn page and her website in the show notes. And I thank you for another session of Soul Expression Sessions. And may you discover pure love inside the sanctuary of your precious heart. Thank you.